Um, Hi everyone. This is my CSE564 final project, NOAC Overdose Vulnerability Dashboard. So the goal of this project is to explore where suspected overdose burden is highest across New York City zip code areas and how that burden changes over time and how it relates to neighborhood vulnerability indicators like poverty, unemployment, rent and rent burden rate, insurance, and health measures and all of that stuff. So the dashboard combines monthly overdose and EMS call data with ACS socioeconomic variables and local health indicators. The main burden metric I use here is overdose calls per thousand residents, which makes zip codes more comparable than raw counts alone. So on the top of the dashboard, I have a summary of the current selections. Um, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but right now it is showing December 22nd to November 23rd with the total number of doses and city-wide rate per thousand uh residents. So the four cards below over here um is a quick takeaway. They show the highest burden zip code, uh 10018. I think it's this one right here. Um, and um, the so the peak month, which is May 2023, with the data that I have, um, mostly negative pattern for associations and similar zip codes based on PCA near to 10018, which is this is 1001. This is 10016 right here. So first I'll start with this map, I guess. So the pale background that you see over here, um, shows the NYC zip code context, while the colored ones are the zips included in the data set. Um, there's more here and there, but yes, this was all we had in the data set that I found. Um, Obviously the darker orange and red ones represent higher burden and higher concentrated areas. It makes it, I picked orange and red to um, make it pop out more. So that's more obvious where the highest burden zips are. If you click on the zip code, um, it becomes pinned across the dashboard. As you can see, it's outlined as well. And select multiple. This lets me compare the zip code against citywide trends, ranking, scatter plot, and PCA views and parallel coordinates. Next is this. Can also zoom in, and zoom out, reset. Next is this monthly trend. This shows how the burden trend changes. Let me press this reset button. Um, Shows how it changes throughout the months. This dash line identifies May as the peak. Um, I can brush over the months like this, change the views like this. And this basically helps answer whether the same zips remain high burden over time or whether the ranking changes during certain months. But as you can see from the right, it's the rankings 10-0 basically stays the top the entire time. So for the zip code rankings, um, this ranks zip codes by the selected burden metric, which is this one. You could change it, but yes, this is what we focus on. This is what I think matters the most. Um, this is useful because it provides a simple ordered view of which zips might need the most attention under the current filter. The association view compares overdose burden against a selected vulnerability variable. Right now, it is comparing against the poverty rate. Each point represents um, each point represents a zip code, and the color represents boroughs. I can change the x-axis using this scatter control, employment rate, all of this, rent burden, physical activity, and everything changes. Reset. Um, and this view helps show whether overdose burden appears related to structural or health vulnerabilities. The relationship is not always simple, but it provides a starting point for investigating patterns. The neighborhood similarity chart uses PCA to place zip codes of similar vulnerability profiles near each other. This is useful because two neighborhoods may not be geographically close, but may still have similar socioeconomic and health characteristics. The dashboard also identifies the closest zips that are closest to current zip in the PCA. Finally, the parallel coordinates. Um, this shows multiple vulnerability indicators. At once, each line is a zip code, as you can see. Oh, just click on all of them. And this view is very useful for seeing whether high burden zip codes, zips share common patterns across um, poverty, unemployment. So let me take a look at one of these. As you can see, it kind of follows the same pattern. Um, College, depression, uninsured rent, burden, inactive, poverty, unemployment, kind of follows the same pattern. And this um brushing and yes, and let me reset and last but not least, the story buttons over here. Guide 3 provides 3 guided ways to use the dashboard. Highest burden focuses on overdose calls per 1,000 residents. Seasonally switches the view towards overdose share and time patterns. And vulnerability focuses more on the relationship between overdose and structural vulnerability indicators. And to reset, as I've shown before, I can just click the reset button, which clears selections and return to the default view. And overall, this dashboard supports interactive explorations of overdose burden across New York City. The main takeaway is that overdose burden, especially even uneven changes across time, and should be interpreted alongside neighborhood vulnerability indicators rather than using raw counts alone. Um, and In the future, I think this dashboard could be improved by adding more years of data, including additional public health resources or treatment access variables and supporting direct comparison between selected zip codes. Thank you.